Hey everybody, Smithel here with O3 Drop. Today we want to talk a little bit about the upcoming Blitz meta for the Skirmish season that starts in about a week from when you're watching this video or from when this video releases. So it's going to be shaken up a little bit. Obviously, the most recent ban and restricted announcement did bring back Crown of Seeds, so that is going to have an impact on the meta a little bit. But I figure what we're going to do is we're going to go through this hero by hero very, very quickly because this way the video doesn't become 2 hours long as we go into all the detail. But certainly, this is just my opinions, my thoughts, kind of what I anticipate seeing based upon what I've been practicing against, our local meta, all that good stuff. Your meta may be different. What you anticipate seeing may be different. But hopefully, some of the high level things remain the same. Obviously, if you disagree with anything that I put here, let us know in the comments. Also, feel free to join the Discord, ask any questions that you may have there as well. And I'm happy to give my opinions through either of those sources or discuss with you. But so what you'll see here on the tier list is right now we have a couple different tiers pre-populated. So I've already put all the LL heroes down here, and I kind of went ahead and I put the why just why category. This primarily consists of, judge heroes, things that came in various like UPF, the UPF product with the professor, all those kind of things that you just really wouldn't anticipate or really expect to see during a skirmish. So that's just under the why, just why category. So if somebody plays this, good on them, but I don't expect you to see any of it. The other tiers that we do have instead of just a typical A, B, C, D, E, F, I kind of tried to clump them a little bit differently just because the difference between a high B and a low A may not be that much in Blitz. There's just so many heroes that can kind of take you from 0 or from 20 to 0 very quickly. So how do you rank one higher than the other? So what I've kind of done is said, hey, within the tiers, everything is going to be about the same. So if you see something in what I consider top 8, that would be a hero that I would expect that you to see in the top 8. The highest tier is what I'm calling the Point Chaser tier, or the Gary Gold tier if you're a Pittsburgh local. This is something that I expect people to play and are likely going to generate some points this season, especially early on. Local meta dependent is obviously your meta better than I do. So the deck may be okay or may be good, but not great into every meta. And you may have to pick and choose what you expect to see if you're playing those decks. Pet decks are obviously ones that I would expect not to do well in the hands of most people. However, if you are an individual that exclusively plays those heroes, maybe you'll do a little bit better than anticipated. And then, hey, well, at least you tried. Is just if you're showing up for fun, not anticipating to do very well, but you just want to participate in the season, that is where I would put things. So let's start with somebody in the well, at least you tried tier. So let's just go with good old faithful OG Arachne. I don't understand why anybody would play Arachne right now. There's so many better assassins to pick from. Playing the version that just looks for contract and tries to mill out your opponent, the format just goes too fast. I would not expect playing Arachne to do very well. Similar to that, I'm going to put OG KO. So KO Berserker Runt. KO either is going to high roll and win or low roll and lose. Generally speaking, you have a 66% chance to low roll. So chances are going to be the bottom tables. It's just too much variance in a format that goes fast that if you have, a turn or two of just bad rolls, you're kind of out of the game. Another one we throw in there is a little bit of Shiana. Shiana, I just don't think is going to be very great right now. One day, I think Shiana is going to be broken as we get more specializations. But for the time being, I would not expect Shiana to be doing very, very well. Let's go through maybe some other ones here, just one at a time here. Let's talk Bolton. I think Bolton is in a rough spot. I mean, Bolton's okay at CC. Lower life, I just don't think Bolton has the legs to get done whatever Bolton needs to get done. I would not expect Bolton to get many, if at all, any Living Legend points for the Blitz format this skirmish season. Dash database, on the other hand, I would expect to see in some top 8s. With Crown and potentially some fatigue heroes coming in, such as maybe Florian, maybe Verdance, maybe Terra. We may have a little bit of issues with Dash database. But for the most part, I think if you kind of avoid some of the harder matchups and don't get fatigued out, you can just outpace a lot of the heroes. Let's talk. Let me see. Do we want to just knock out a couple of the mechs all at once here? Maybe let's do that. So let's, and I'm trying to check my notes as we go through here. Let's look at Max Nitro. Max is kind of in a rough spot. If I'm playing a Mechanologist, I'd rather be on Dash Database. Um, so I don't think Max and I don't think Teklo, and I have to find Teklo down here, and when I do, I'll throw them up accordingly. But I don't think either of those mechs are going to be particularly good. You may be able to make something happen if you high roll or really really have a cool pet deck for Max. Teklo, I don't think is going to be able to handle it. I'm going to put Teklo in. At least you tried. Max, I would, and I know I said I wouldn't put these in anything. If you have a really really unique mech, Max favored meta, maybe if that's all you play, you can do okay. I don't think you're going to make top 8. I don't think it's going to be completely busted though by any chance. So I would say if you want to play mech, Dash Database is probably a good call, or Data Doll. I think Data Doll is poised to do very very well. My main issue that I'm going to have with Data Doll is that I have not been able to test her as much with any kind of Crown of Seeds or CYB. So I have very real concerns about being able to win as Data Doll and get fatigued out without getting fatigued out. Similar to Dash, but so I'm going to put Data Doll actually down one. I think Dash Database is a little higher. Data Doll is still good. I think you're going to probably be over 50% win rate. But you may bubble out of top 8 more than you would if you played Dash Database. Let's talk, I guess, since Prism's up, let's go a little bit into the illusionists here. I think illusionists are in a very, very good spot. I think OG Prism a little bit more than the newer one. I also think that both of them are probably better than the Enigmas personally. But I think Enigma and OG Prism are probably pretty close. Let's throw Prism in top 8. I'm gonna put Enigma local meta dependent. I think if you see a lot of people coming in with these Terras and everything to try and fatigue out, I think you may be in a pretty good spot as illusionist. However, angels just go fast. I'm gonna put both prisms in top 8 potential with Enigma under local meta dependent. I'm also gonna throw, where's New Moon? Here's the other Enigma. I'm gonna put both of those in meta dependent. I know there's a lot of Enigma lovers. People may disagree with this. I think that they should all be similar. Based on my experience and what I would anticipate to see, I think that these two are probably a little bit lower than the prisms. So, is there any other illusions that I'm not thinking of right now? Is Dromai still alive? I think Dromai's still alive. Dromai's pretty good. When I find Dromai, we'll get. Oh, there she is. Dromai, I think, is very, very good as well. I'm actually going to throw Dromai in potential top 8 category. I mean, just the dragons are still good. Again, I think that we're going to see a lot of people bring in guardians, but I think they're going to be more of the fatiguey guardians that are just going to be swinging hammers, maybe not have as many poppers, things like that. So I think that these are all going to all be pretty well stationed. However, if you go into a meta that has a lot of poppers, has a lot of things to get past that phantasm, we may struggle a little bit. Okay, while we're talking guardians, let's talk Volda. I think Volda is still not great. Obviously we got the Guardian set coming up later this year. I'd love to see some Volda support. I mean, we know she's coming in adult format, so Volda will get support. I just don't think it's there. Brevant, I think, again, if you're playing Fatigue, you'd be better off playing a Terra or something like that. I think everything else is just gonna be rough for Brevant to go into. So let's talk Terra. Let's do Bravo first, and then we'll go Terra, because then we can transition into Verdance and the other Earth heroes. Bravo, I'm going to say pet deck. I think if you just play exclusively Bravo, do a lot of Bravo play, you're going to be doing okay. I think you're going to really struggle to get into top 8, though. But I do expect you to at least maybe go even and just kind of get some good dominate attacks, especially if you have a lot of people that are playing like Syndra, things like that. With the lower life, you get a couple, good crush effects, prevent them from go again, things like that. You'll be okay. However, again, you're going to really, really struggle into any of these illusionists, I think, in my opinion. You do have more poppers, which are nice. But if you're playing more of the fatigue build and just trying to swing Anathos, you may run into some problems. Let's talk these Earth heroes. So we got Terra, Verdance, and Florian. This is where I think we're going to see the most shakeup in the meta, just because Crown is back. Let's talk, kind of the elephant in the room here. Let's talk Terra. Terra, I think, is primed to be one of the best fatigue guardian CYB crown kite decks out there. I don't think he's the best of the Earth heroes, though. I think Terra is going to do extremely, extremely well. But between Terra and Yoji, if I'm doing CYB kind of build, I honestly think I'd prefer Yoji just because I have a little bit more of that health to start with than I do Terra. So if all I'm doing is swinging hammer and going down that path with CYB, I'm taking the buff to the health. Sure, you lose crown, but when the format goes fast and you're trying to slow things down, I 2 health. That's like what 10% in Blitz. I think Yoji just does it better. You get Yoji with a little bit of remembrance, something like that, and I think you're okay. But I think both are, not a bad choice. So I would let's anticipate seeing some Terras in the top 8, just because I think we're going to see a high representation based upon what I've been seeing on Talishar and what people have been talking about. Yoji, even though I think he's better, personally, I'm going to put it local meta dependent just because I think we're going to see more Terras than we do Yoji. So if you have a local meta that is very, very good or very, very favorable for Yoji and 2, I think you can basically sneak away with a little bit of some wins and get some LL points. But I think just Terra is going to be more represented. We're going to expect to see more in the top 8 from Terra. The rest of the Earth heroes with Florian and Verdance down here. Verdance, I think, is in a great, great position. I think Verdance is able to get done what she wants to get done faster. Arcane damage is always kind of just hard to deal with, although I think people are going to be bringing in more AB than normal. But you can kind of play Verdance a little bit like the old Bullander build with Icelander, where you're mixing up the arcane and you're mixing up the physical damage, and you're just kind of constantly pressuring your opponent while gaining some life. So it's one of those things that when you have a smaller deck and you can do what Verdance wants to do faster and better and only have to decompose 4 as opposed to 8, I think Verdance is in a great spot. I'm going to sit there and say if you're playing Verdance, you have a chance to get some points. However, that being said, I think Florian's the monster in the room. I mean, Florian has the ability through the weapon and Reaping Blade to be able to control CYB, really only gain life whenever Florian wants to gain life, being able to kind of manipulate totals so that way Florian can gain life, but then try to stay low enough to prevent their opponent from gaining if they're also on CYB. I think Florian has the ability to fatigue out, set up, do everything Florian wants to do, get online a lot faster. I think Florian is going to be a menace with Crown potentially. I like everything about Florian. I think that is my pick for the hero that will probably get the most points this Blitz season. I don't know about week 1. I think it may take a little bit of time for some people to figure it out. But if I'm sitting there saying what's Crown going to have the most impact on, Florian has got to be it, in my opinion. What else do we have done here that we can kind of group into one? Let's talk the new heroes. Let's talk Syndra and Fang and new Arachne. Syndra, I think, is good. Syndra goes fast. With Blitz, though, I feel like I'd almost rather be playing Benji than Syndra just because it's unpreventable and being able to kind of, or not unpreventable, unblockable from hand. So you're less likely to kind of hit that fatigue. You can kind of really rush through your opponents if you want to as Benji. I still think Syndra's good. I think we're going to see a lot of Syndra. I'm going to put local meta dependent, but I could see an argument for top 8 as well. But and this is kind of where we're going to get into the nitty gritty of it, because in Blitz there's just so many heroes that are kind of like in this middle of the pack range and like good, because they can move so quick and you can get down to 20 health, that I think Syndra, you could make a case either way. I'm going to put meta dependent though, just because if you do have a lot of CYB, you do have a lot of life gain, you do have a lot of prevention effects, things like that. Crown, for example, may be a problem because you could just prevent one. So if they tried to flick knife a dagger or something like that at you, you can kind of just prevent that one and try to hurt the mask of momentum trigger. I know that's kind of where Syndra does great in CC, is being able to say, okay, hey, look, you block this attack, but I can just flick it, do flick knives, still keep mask potentially online, because now I have a hit registering, so it's hard to do that. If you can prevent that flick knife basically over and over and over again, I think Syndra's going to struggle. So if you don't anticipate a lot of the crown, I think Syndra will do better. If you do, I think Syndra drops a little lower. Fang, on the other hand, as much as I love the hero, I think is going to be in a rough spot. Yeah, Fang can get online. If you can do it fast and make it work, that's great. However, Fang just has a lot of no blocks in terms of like pledge fieldy and everything that Fang wants to do, that I would fully anticipate Fang just to kind of be sitting kind of low. So I'm going to say pet deck. If you love Fang, you play a lot of Fang, maybe you'll do okay. I don't think you're going to be top 8ing consistently as Fang. Arachne, Web of Deceit. I'm going to say similar deal. I think Arachne, Web of Deceit, where Arachne does really well, is kind of in those, not longer, but kind of those, I guess, longer CC games where you're able to really manipulate the mark mechanic, know when you want to take damage versus, what you want to transform into, how you're going to do that. I think whenever you just only have 20 life and you have an opponent that can just burst you down from 20 to 0 in one turn or less, I think you struggle a little bit more. I don't think you get the chance to set up the mark and do what, Web of Deceit wants to do. So I'm going to put Arachne, Web of Deceit a little lower. But as we're talking about Arachne, let's talk Solitary. I think Solitary Confinement is going to be a better deck. I don't think it's going to I'll put it in top 8 potential. I think if you're going to play Arachne, you are going to want to play Solitary and just go fast. So being able to sit there and deal with all the new cards that Assassin has available to them and basically play Slippy, but without the downside of giving other Assassins go again, is great. So you can really sneak over the top. Hopefully that they have defense reactions. That's good. As you get people that are kind of, trying to get rid of a card to pay for Crown, or playing a lot of D-Reacts, if you can bait them out early, I think Arachne Solitary is going to be in a real good spot. Who else do we have down here? I'm going to put Olympia, I've been avoiding it. Well, at least you tried. Olympia, Betsy, not in a great spot. However, let's talk KO. I think KO is going to be a point chaser potential deck. Reiner's out of the meta. Reiner has LL'd, so who are you going to play if you're going to try to come in for 21 damage on turn 0? You're going to play KO. Intimidate is a real strong mechanic in Blitz. I mean, if you can get rid of their hand and then come in on a blood rush turn or do anything to stop that, that's great. I think KO in CC fails a little bit because he just puts out fair numbers, but when you are in Blitz and they only have 20 life, sometimes less, KO can do that in turn, 1, turn 0, based upon what he gets in hand. I think KO is going to be a point chaser type of deck this meta. That being said, let's talk about the other one. Let's talk Blaze. Blaze is another hero that can be built a couple different ways. I did just watch DM Armada's Metafy, what is it? I guess you would say guide on Blaze and his deck. And this is probably a skirmish season old now, so it's a little out of date in my opinion, but I think it's still a great resource and it still plays very well. I've been playing a little bit of Blaze to get some practice in. Blaze just does good. What's also nice about Blaze is there's a couple different ways to play Blaze. So you can kind of do the, all-in aggro. I'm going to try to win in, 1, 2, 3 turns. Or you can sit there and say, I'm just going to put out consistent arcane numbers, try to block a little bit more and survive. I think that's good. I think you may run into some problem if you get into like a really fatiguey CYB kind of builds, where Blaze may struggle and just run out of gas. But if they don't get the CYBs, you can kill the CYB heroes before they get online. I think you really have a chance in the Blaze. I don't think she's as strong as she was last season, but I do think she's still a very, very solid and very, very good pick. Talking more about Draconic, Emperor, okay. I think Emperor does okay. I don't think that Emperor is going to be as great as he was. I'm going to say meta dependent. If you are, I'm going to say pet deck actually for Emperor. If you play a lot of Emperor, you know your meta, you really, really understand how they work. You may be able to get away with Emperor if you expect a lot of D reacts and can get those C and C's out. For the most part, though, I don't see any reason why I would pick Emperor over somebody like Blaze. If I want to kind of play Wizard, or heck, if I want to play Draconic, I don't know why I would pick Emperor over, Dromai or Syndra, to be quite honest. So, not great. Has a lot of downsides all red whenever you're starting to see a lot more arcane heroes like Verdance come in, see Blaze come in. It's just going to be problematic. Who do we got here? Let's talk York. You don't play this. So let's talk Dory. I'm going to say Dory is going to be a meta dependent hero. So Dory's going to struggle in Blitz the same way that she struggles in CC right now. And that I think we're going to be seeing a lot of D reacts coming out of some of the top heroes. I think that CYB is going to slow Dory down a little bit. But where I think Dory shines is that you have a couple different flexibility options to build. Is if you know what your meta is going to be on, like if you don't anticipate a lot of D reacts, you don't anticipate a lot of preventions, or heck, maybe you do prevent or anticipate some Dromai so you can hit some dragons. I think Dory has some potential as the Dawnblade. I do think that there is something to be said about doing Big Axe Dory with Decimator Blade, or Decimator Axe, whatever it's called, to counteract some of the value that you're seeing from these fatigue type of builds. However, if you get a lot of go wide decks, you get a lot of Dash, Syndras, things like that. The Axe may, really struggle. So there could be a way you can play a switch Dory and maybe get the best of both worlds, but you really, really have to know your meta and be confident in that to get some points on Dory this season. I still think she's very good if you can kind of accurately predict the meta and go that route. I just don't think she's going to be the absolute best right now. Let's talk other warrior. Let's talk Kasai. I'm going to say pet deck. Kasai is good, not great. Again, if I'm playing warrior, I'm going to be playing Dory over anything else. Kasai I feel like is going to flounder a little bit. I'm going to go into, let's talk the other Dory, Quicksilver. I think it's going to be very local meta dependent. Again, Quicksilver I think is just fine. I think it's going to struggle a little bit. I'll actually move it a little bit above normal Dory. I think that Dory, it's going to be a little bit more consistent, which is nice. You're going to be able to kind of block play a little bit, smaller hand sizes, and still be relatively consistent in numbers. But again, CYB is going to be a problem. Yeah, you got the the weapon, but eventually, the what I call the fake Dawnblade, it's not going to be as consistent. You can't get counter. Sure, you may get an instance where you get one on and keep it permanent, but for the most part, Terra's weapon is going to do better than you. Yoji's weapon is going to do better than you late game, and they're going to be gaining health more than you will. I think you're just going to struggle. Who else do we got down here? Do we want to talk ninjas? Katsu, I think is as much as some people are going to hate it. Well, at least you try a tape deck. I think Katsu is just in a bad space all around this game. I would not anticipate much from Katsu. Levia, I think, is going to be a pet deck. I think there's going to be a case to be made for Levia and being able to play well. I think Levia could struggle into Blaze. I think Levia can struggle into CYB decks that are just going to try to survive and fatigue you out or make you die to your own blood debt. But I think that there is something to be said that if you are a Levia main and people don't have a lot of practice into you, that you can put out some pretty good damage numbers pretty quickly and put your opponent in a bad position. Let's talk a little bit about Vincent. I think Vincent is going to be local meta dependent, but and I said there's no tier, but I think she's going to be in a very good spot in the right hands. I think Rune Blades are going to be a problem to deal with overall. And Vincent can just go so fast. There's so much you can do with call and so much that you can do uh, kind of in the setup turns and then like the go wide turns that a good Vincent player will be able to set up a turn where they're just coming in with 20 damage easily between rune chance and, attacks, and find ways to make the rune chance unpreventable so that way you're going to take all the on hit effects. Vincent, I think, is in a good spot, but you have to have the meta for it. The downside of Vincent, similar to it is in CC, is they can just block you out and let you die. So it's one of those things that you have to be able to have a good game plan into the fatigue. You have to know what you're going to do if they're going to block out, because then you just don't have the weapon to contest with some of these other big hitters. Let's talk Riptide. I think Riptide is pet deck territory. Riptide could be okay, but the problem is, again, you're going to get a lot of people that maybe don't want to go again or don't have an attack to trigger any traps. So let's talk Blaze. Let's talk Terra. Florian maybe just is happy swinging a blade with Rune Chance and setup. Verdance isn't going to be doing too much for you. So yeah, you got some AB, but you lose a lot of the trap value on that. So you do have some good matchups. I think you're going to be great into the Arachnes. You could probably do okay into the KOs. But for the most part, I think you really, really have to be comfortable on Riptide to be in a good spot this skirmish season. And Fi, God, Fi's always weird to talk about. I think he's just not great right now, which is sad to say because Fi used to be a menace in Blitz because he used to go so fast, but there's just so many heroes to go wide and go fast better than you do that, if that's your plan as aggro, I don't think you want to pick Fi, at all right now. Lexi, I'm going to put as pet deck material. I think Lexi's okay. I think you're going to bubble out a lot. I think she's the best of the two Rangers personally right now. They may be close, but I think you get a little bit more tools available as Lexi. So I'm going to put Azalea here too as well. I think they're going to be very similar in how they perform this season. The issue with Azalea is, again, you generally as Azalea, you don't want to do a lot of blocking. You kind of want to just put out big dominated arrow attacks, which are great because they have low life. But the downside is with you not blocking, there's just a lot of decks that can get you low to the point that you want to block faster than you would in CC. So in CC, when you have a lot of life, you can sit there and say, hey, I'll take 10, 12 damage this turn because I can counter it back, and then take 10, 12 more and do red in the ledger and slow you down. I don't think you have that opportunity as much in Blitz. So you're going to be forced to block a lot sooner than you would want to in Blitz. Aurora. I'm going to say we're going to see a lot of Auroras in top 8. Aurora just goes fast. If you like Briar and you like doing kind of split damage and doing kind of crazy things, Aurora is fun. I would very much say let's anticipate to see Aurora in top 8. Who do we have left? We got Benji, Acilio, Zen, Nu, and Azuri. Let's talk Zen. I think Zen is very much a point chaser kind of deck right now. Zen is still strong. There has not been a ton to rein Zen in compared to some other heroes. I mean, what can you say? The hero LL'd, and then they had to basically redo their entire point format just to bring Zen back in a way that was meaningful. I would not be surprised if Zen gets close to LLing again this season if somebody comes up with a good deck week 1 and shares it. So Zen, I think, is very good. I do think that there's a couple more heroes that make it so he's not the de facto go-to only play this deck if you want to win type thing. But Zen just does great. Zen's going to do great things. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can do to make Zen sad as Blaze. So I think Blaze can kind of keep Zen in check a little bit. But for the most part, you're going to see Zen in your top 8s. There's no getting around it right now. Benji, I'm going to put as pet deck. I'm not going to put local meta dependent because I think Benji just performs well no matter what. But there's going to be a lot of CYB, and I know they can't block, so you're going to be able to kind of like the upside of Benji is going to be that heroes that don't have a lot of value on the attack, so like Terra, for example, if they can't block from hand, they may be able to crown prevent one of it away, but then that gets sort of their arsenal. So if they have a D-react in arsenal, which you would allow them to kind of block. It's one of those things of saying, you save a point here, but then you can't do much, and then what are you going to do? Swing back a hammer because you got a lot of defensive options. I think Benji's going to run all over you. That being said, there's a lot of heroes that can just do Benji but better. I mean, Dash Database, Benji doesn't want to block a ton because Benji can go wide, kind of wants to take advantage of specialization. So Dash is going to sit there and just do that, I think, better with grenades and such. Blaze, I think, can just wreck Benji if Blaze gets a couple good hands. And then I think Florian and Verns are going to put Benji in a rough spot as well. So if you want to go fast to aggro, I think Zen's a better call in terms of ninjas. But, you can have a great Benji deck. It's just, I don't think he's going to perform as well. You may get into the top 8, may have a couple good shots. As a whole, though, I would not expect to see too terribly much. Cilio, I'm going to put pet deck as well. Cilio can do crazy things, but you just got to have a good hand, and a lot of Cilio stuff doesn't block. So sure, you can try to pitch stack and get to where you want to be faster, but it's one of those things that just, it may be too fast of a format, and if you don't want to block or do anything to prevent life because you got a lot of 0 block instants in hand, that's just not great. Who do we got left? We got Azuri and New. Let's talk. I think Azuri's probably the. See, it's tough. Like, so here's my issue with New. I think if we see a lot of slow, fatiguey decks, I think New's just gonna feast. But I don't know if New's gonna be strong enough in the format overall for us to really make that call. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say let's put New. I'm going to put New high pet deck. You got to be real comfortable with her, and you got to get a good kind of lineup to make it work in terms of who your matches are, what's coming to your meta and to your LGS. But I don't think New's as strong as New once was. At this point, again, I'd rather be on Arachne Solitary. And just try to go over the top as opposed to kind of waiting and being a little bit more slow and methodical and playing some of their cards. That being said, I also think Azuri is just not great. We're going to put Azuri in while you tried. Azuri, it's again, Azuri, you kind of like swinging dagger. You like kind of then, playing, one stealth card, swapping out, coming in with something better. I think low life, you're being forced to block a little bit much. And if I'm an assassin, similar to New, I think this is the assassin to be, is Arachne Solitary. So overall, if I was sitting there and saying what you should do to prepare for Skirmish season, 5 decks I would play or prep for: Zen, Blaze, KO, Florian, Verdance. I think these 5 are going to be either the most represented or the biggest threat to you. But then I also think you really want to have a good game plan into illusionists between Dromai, Prism. You also want to kind of have a good Runeblade plan for the aggros. So you want Aurora. I guess Runeblade between Florian and Aurora, but you need to have an aggro plan because I think in the other top 8s that you're going to see are going to be Dash, Aurora, and Arachne Solitary. And then Terra, just with Crown being back, there's going to be somebody at your Skirmish playing Terra, at least one person. It's too big of a draw for a lot of people that have fun Crown memories. So again, this is what I anticipate seeing this Skirmish season. If you disagree with me, by all means, let me know. I would be very curious to hear what your thoughts are. If you think somebody's too high, too low, let me know why. Again, put it in the comments. Come to our Discord. We're happy to talk about it. Look for deck lists, anything like that. We can happily give you our thoughts or what we think may be a good one if we have it. But other than that, hopefully you enjoyed it. If you are participating in a Blitz Skirmish this season, good luck. Let us know the results. And hopefully it went well for you. Other than that, thanks for tuning in. Hopefully stick around for some other videos later. But I'll talk to you later. Take care. Bye.